Hello, everyone. Welcome to A Higher Dimension. I'm Gloria Danvers from Gloria Danvers Hypnosis, and I'm your host. On this podcast, we explore the soul-level side of the human experience. As a hypnotherapist, I witness powerful awakenings and shifts in consciousness just about every day. With their permission, I share my clients' amazing stories, along with my own solo episodes. We'll be exploring past lives, spirit realms, and the deeper workings of the universe. We'll be looking at spiritual awakenings, psychic intuition, healing through hypnosis, and those strange but meaningful moments in a person's life that shift everything they ever knew. Some weeks it will be just you and I, and we'll be digging deep into the mysteries of the subconscious mind, the universal mind, and the divine mind. Many of these episodes will include channeled messages, offering wisdom and perspective for everyday life. Some weeks I'll be bringing on other metaphysical practitioners to share their extraordinary work in the higher realms. They're all unique, all transformative. And whether it's their story, or your story, or even my story, the real question is always, what now? What comes next? How do you live differently after a spiritual experience? Who are you? And what do you know now that you didn't know then? If you're here listening, chances are you're ready for your own hypnotic journey, your own spiritual awakening, and finding your place in an expanding universe. You can reach me at gloriadanvershypnosis.com. Send me an email. Book a free consultation. And if you're interested in the subjects that I'm bringing to your table, please hit like and subscribe. Your support can help me take this podcast to the next level. But for right now, sit back, open your mind, and let's explore those higher dimensions. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to A Higher Dimension. I'm Gloria from Gloria Danvers Hypnosis, and I'm your host for this podcast. Well, it's the time of year known as the holidays. It's a time of year that is meant to be joyous, sharing closeness with our families, feeling connected. But the truth is, not everyone feels that way. For many people, this is a time of obligatory intimacy with the very people who hurt us the most. And we dread it. And who can blame us? It's like sticking your head in a lion's mouth once a year to get chewed up and spit out. So today we're going to walk into a place most people spend their whole lives avoiding. I want to talk about the wound, the one that you carry, the one that you've learned to step around, the one you reassure yourself is fine, even though you know it's not fine, even though you know it's not quiet. That's the wound that shaped your personality long before you ever realized it. Now, why would I pick this time of year to talk about this, as opposed to any other? Well, this time of year, you will most likely be in the same situations that might have created that wound in the first place. And maybe, though you have moved on, they haven't. And so there you are, evolved, but still in that place where you are being treated like you used to be treated. And even though you are evolved, this can be triggering. That trigger makes itself known and felt when once again you are in the same situation. Now, we're not going to reopen it, but we are going to look deep because there's something inside of that. And you should know this, that there's wisdom in that wound. There's power in that wound. And in this strange, elegant, stubborn way the soul works, the wound is often the very place that you become the strongest. So wherever you're listening from, take a breath and let's take a look inside of the wound. Why does the soul create and carry wounds? In metaphysics, wounds aren't accidents. They're not punishments. They're not karmic gotchas. They are density points, the places where the soul compresses itself into an experience that is so intense, so emotionally concentrated, that it becomes a turning point for identity. And you can think of it like this. When the soul incarnates, it leaves a state of perfect cohesion. Here in the physical form, everything is slower, heavier, and thicker. Experiences take time. Healing takes time. Understanding takes time. So the soul chooses certain points, certain experiences, that become ignition switches for a deeper evolution. Some people call these lessons, and they can start early in your life before you even have conscious memories. Some call them soul contracts. And some people become the wound and put a fence around themselves, tending the pain, but not examining the growth. But a wound is actually an invitation to power. It doesn't feel like that in the beginning, of course. It still feels like betrayal, abandonment, invisibility, the childhood you didn't get, the parent who never saw you, the siblings who tormented you, the partner who broke something in you, or the loss that changed the shape of your life. But wounds create openings. Openings into compassion, intuition, sensitivity, perception, the exact things that form your spiritual strength if you are brave enough to see them, if you are brave enough to walk into that. There's a reason every mystic, every healer, every spiritually awake person you've ever met has a past that would make an average person crumble. Because the wound becomes the doorway. Is that why we hold on to them? Well, let's talk about the bigger picture. The subconscious does not process a wound the way the soul does. The soul sees it as expansion. The subconscious sees it as threat. So what does it do? It catalogs the sensations. It records the emotions. It stores the bodily reactions. And it builds a reflexive pattern. That's why someone who is abandoned becomes hyper-independent. Why someone who was betrayed becomes hyper-vigilant. Why someone who is dismissed or minimized becomes reactive to tone. Why someone who wasn't protected becomes controlling. They are reflexes. A body remembers what the adult self tries to rationalize. And the wound doesn't dissolve just because the conscious mind decides that it's time to move on. It dissolves when the body feels safe enough, the nervous system releases its grip, the subconscious realizes the threat is over, and the emotional charge softens. That's the moment the wound loosens. That is the beginning of alchemy. Every transformation has a moment. And if you've ever healed from something major, you know what I mean. There's that 1 second when something clicks. Something has changed. You might be crying, journaling, talking, praying, meditating, working with a therapist or a hypnotist, or even just sitting in the quiet. And suddenly, the perspective shifts. Maybe you stop blaming yourself. Maybe you finally see someone clearly. Maybe you realize that you have already survived the worst part. Maybe you feel something old release in your chest. And it's subtle, but it's also seismic. It's that instant when the wound stops being a memory and becomes a catalyst. That's the moment the soul rises inside the human experience. That's the moment when you begin to get a picture of who you are without the labels of trauma. That's where the alchemy begins. The alchemy of turning pain into power. And let's break this part open, because this really is where the magic happens. So, there is energetic alchemy. This is where the emotional charge dissolves. You stop vibrating at the frequency of the wound. Instead of reacting, you start seeing. Instead of personalizing, you start understanding. Instead of collapsing into the pain, you rise above it. What used to trigger you now teaches you. There is an identity shift. And this is a big one. You move from, I'm the person who was hurt, to, I'm the person who learned something from that hurt. Identity is everything. And so the wound becomes a chapter, not a personality. You move from victim to soul warrior. This is where the strength emerges. Different wounds create different strengths. And we're going to break that down too. So, abandonment creates self-trust, independence, and discernment. Betrayal creates intuition, boundaries, and emotional intelligence. Neglect creates empathy and nurturing and attunement. Abuse creates personal power, sovereignty, and resilience. And loss creates wisdom, appreciation, and spiritual sensitivity. The same wound that once weakened you becomes your clarity, your radar, your ability to read energy, your spiritual signature. You start to see that the wound didn't break you, it shaped you. And now let's talk about what this means for you, specifically, my listener, for your own life. And I want you to think about your own personal wound. And name that wound to yourself. Not the story, the wound itself. For example, I felt invisible. I felt abandoned. I felt unprotected. Name what it took from you. It took my safety. It took my trust. It took my voice. Name what it taught you. It gave me sensitivity. It gave me strength. It gave me intuition. Now, name the new strength emerging, and you can say, because of what I lived through, I can now, and fill in that blank. Maybe 2 blanks, 3 blanks, 4 blanks, until finally you can acknowledge the alchemy. And the alchemy says, this wound is no longer my enemy. It's where I draw my light from. And so the wound is forged into the tool. The tool is forged into the weapon. And the weapon is forged into the wisdom. And there is the alchemy, the gift of the transformed wound. The wisdom that was won, not taught. And sit with that. Your spiritual path is not about perfection. It's about transformation. The things that happen to you were not meant to destroy you. The soul does not choose destruction. It chooses evolution. And sometimes the place you bled the most becomes the place that you shine the brightest. You don't heal by getting over it and forgetting. You heal by becoming someone who can no longer be broken by the things that once wounded you. So when you're spending the holidays with the people that hurt you, when you're sitting at the table with them, look at them also as your teachers. Look at yourself as their teacher. Empower yourself by not absorbing the barbs thrown at you, but rather deflecting them and maintaining your grace. You can refuse to buy what they are selling because you don't have to live in that anymore. That's not your truth. You can sit at that table and you can enjoy yourself because you've taken that wound and turned it into a power source. Those people won't get it. They won't understand what has upset the toxic dynamic. But here's the thing. Not one person at that table has done what you have done. And that's where your power is. That's where the shift is. Take the seat of the observer and watch what happens when the family power structure changes. Some families fall apart when that happens. I hope with all my heart that your family falls together and that your healing and your growth is the start of their healing and growth. I wish you all a peaceful and loving Thanksgiving. May you feel loved. May you feel blessed. And may you bless others. And that's a wrap. Thanks so much for being here with me today. Thanks for making the time. And I hope something that I shared opened up a door in your mind, maybe sparked a new perspective, or sent you down a major rabbit hole. If this podcast resonates with you, don't forget to like and subscribe and share it with someone who might enjoy it as well. If you're curious about having your own extraordinary experience, or if you've had an extraordinary experience and want to share it, reach out. send me an email, book a free consultation. Until next time, stay curious and stay open to whatever comes to you in a higher dimension. Bye.